Hello, this is Sydney Thomas. Today we're going to be discussing how to get started in Ometa Flow by running your first molecular network. To begin, navigate to the Ometa Flow landing page and log in using the button here. If you don't already have an Ometa Flow username and password, contact your organization's Ometa Flow administrator to create one. Once you've logged in, you can explore everything that Ometa Flow has to offer. But before you can begin analyzing data, you first have to upload data onto the server. You can do that using either the file browser here or the shared browser here. The file browser contains all of your personal files and can only be accessed by your account. The shared browser contains shared files and can be accessed by anyone within your organization. You can use any MZML files containing MS data for this tutorial. But in case you don't have any of this on hand, you can download our example files in the tutorial documentation. To access these files, click on Documentation, navigate to Tutorials, Running Your First Molecular Network, and click on this link here to download a zipped folder with the relevant files. Once you've downloaded and unzipped that folder, you can upload the files by either dragging or dropping or using the Upload button here. You can also use the file browser to manage, organize, rename, delete, or download your files. Once you've uploaded your data, you're ready to start your analysis. To do so, click on Workflows here, find Classic Networking, and click on Launch Workflow. This brings up the workflow input page for Classic Networking. To begin, we'll enter a job description and begin selecting our data. To do so, click on the green button here and find your users folder. Here I have 3 folders containing MZML files. To add these files, I can either click on each file individually or click on the folder housing the files. Today, I'll be adding all of the blank files to group 1, all omnivore files to group 2, and all vegan files to group 3. I'm also going to add this metadata file to my metadata path here. When I close out of this window, you'll notice that I've added my blank files to group 1, omnivore to group 2, and vegan to group 3. Finally, I can choose which libraries I want to use to annotate my spectra. By default, I'll be looking at all of the libraries that are housed on my server, but if you want to choose only specific libraries, you can click on this Select Library Folder button here, go to your libraries, and select only specific libraries to use to annotate your spectra. If you do so, remember to remove this LC folder here by clicking on the Remove File Selection button. For today, we'll leave all of the rest of these settings as their default values, but if you have any questions about these settings, you can always hover over these question marks here to get more information about the setting, or you can go to the workflow documentation here, which provides more information about the workflow. Once you've finished with all of your settings, scroll down to the bottom of the page and click on Submit Workflow. This will bring up the workflow's task status page, and you'll see that your job is currently running. You can look at this panel here to see what's currently being done, and once the workflow is finished running, you'll see the status is changed to Done. If the status changes to Failure, you can always check out the Outlogs or Nextflow report to see what failed, and if you can't fix it yourself, feel free to download the error logs and send them to us via email, and we'll help you figure it out. Once your analysis is completed, you can find all of your results on the task status page. If you have questions about any of these views, you can check out the workflow documentation, which contains a description of each of these output files. You can also click the Browse All Results button here to pull up a file browser with every file created by this workflow. For today, let's check out our molecular network. To do so, click on the Visualize Full Network in Browser button here. This will pull up your molecular network. In this network, each of these circles or nodes corresponds to an individual metabolite. If that circle is blue, that means that metabolite had a library annotation. If you click on a metabolite, you'll pull up the MS2 spectra for that metabolite, as well as a library match, if any. Edges between nodes indicate that there's spectral similarity between metabolites. You can click on an edge to pull up the MS2 spectra for each metabolite and a mirror plot comparing the two. If you ever want to look at these plots in more detail, you can click on the View Spectrum USI or View Mirror USI buttons to pull up larger interactive versions of these plots. You can also overlay metadata information over your molecular network using our pie configuration function. Here, I've chosen to draw my pie charts using the default groups that I selected in my workflow input. But since I also added metadata, you'll see I have other options here as well. To show pie charts, simply select Yes here. You'll now notice that each of my nodes is colored by which groups that metabolite was found in. In this case, since I know that my blanks were group 1 and group 1 is pink, I probably don't want to follow up on any nodes that are pink. There are a lot of different ways to customize and explore your molecular network. For more information about this, check out our network dashboard documentation, which contains a lot of information about how to customize your network. Finally, if you would like to share these results within your organization, there are several ways to do so. First, you can simply copy-paste the link to the task status page or your molecular network to share with anyone who has access to your server. You can also click on Public Task to make your task public, or download all results to download a zipped folder with all of the files from this analysis. Finally, if you would like to keep the task private, you can click on Protect Task to make sure that only you and your system administrator can access these results. So now you've completed your first molecular network on Ometa Flow. As always, if you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out to the Ometa team. Thanks for listening.